Hi, my name is Carolina Herrera, and I will be discussing the role of emergency management in planning for climate change and sea level rise. Climate change affects us in many ways that all tie together in the end, but when it comes to emergency management, we see ourselves facing an increase in situations that require a well planned and well executed set of strategies that are ready to go at any necessary moment. Climate change is defined as a change in global or regional climate patterns. In simpler terms, it creates a more extreme environment. Climate change involves the warming of the oceans, so the normal process of the water cycle is intensified and water temperatures begin to rise. This leads to an excessive water evaporation that creates a quicker storm development and storm intensity. NASA describes the rising of sea levels as being caused by additional water from melting ice and the expansion of seawater as it warms. This is directly caused by climate change. Emergency management faces a great deal of natural disasters caused by climate change. The unstable climate means emergency management will have more to prepare for than it currently does. FEMA recognizes climate change as a challenge. The situations that climate change will cause alter the types of magnitudes of hazards faced by the public and emergency personnel. This means emergency managers have to be ready to respond to these disasters and support preparedness efforts nationwide. The mitigation process always happens before the actual disaster or emergency. It is meant to eliminate or reduce the possible risks and to lessen the effect of the situation. Emergency managers need to gather all the information needed to make the best decisions on managing climate-related risks. The role of emergency management in mitigation is preparing for the challenges of lessening the effects of climate change. This includes interacting with climate change analysts and politicians to get the right information about climate change and the policy being implemented as a response. Managers must develop long-term strategies before the actual consequences begin. These steps are important for emergency managers so they can prepare to respond and mitigate to hazards the public risks. It's important for emergency managers to step in because climate change and sea level rise cause a trickle-down effect on things that we hold valuable. It will change the way of life, and people will know little on how to respond to these extreme disasters and changes. Climate change will not only impact humans physically, but it will cause negative changes in the economy, infrastructure, and public health. Some examples of what climate change and sea level rise impact are agriculture, coastal areas, water resources, natural habitats and species relocation, and public health. Florida is one of the best examples in the United States that faces a big challenge with climate change. Rising sea levels is a major risk for Florida, especially in South Florida. Miami-Dade's county commissioner has already built a sound foundation through task forces on climate change adaptation and sea level rise. Coastal cities have already experienced a rise in flooding and have started to invest in major construction projects to help reduce the risk of these rising sea levels. I'm actually from Fort Lauderdale, and I have sadly seen how these floods are affecting my community as well as the coast with erosion. The beaches are constantly being extended and go through a lot of reconstruction because the shore is constantly shortening the beach. My conclusion is that climate change and rising sea levels will continue to be a consistent threat that emergency managers must be prepared for. Emergency management community should continue its management principles while preparing for long-term strategies by keeping themselves and the public informed. It has to continue to formulate its mitigation and planning strategies at all three levels of the government in order to effectively implement its management when the time comes. These are my references, and I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.